God save our gracious Queen. Long live our noble Queen. God save the Queen. Send her victorious, happy and glorious, long to reign over us. God save the Queen.
Liz Taylor with God Save the Queen. The Australian national anthem will be sung by Martin Cruz, who is starring in The Man from Snowy River Spectacular and soon to come to Sydney.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are young and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is good by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Martin Cruz aboard the Colt from Old Regret. Lovely touch. Martin Cruz there with the Australian national anthem. You would have noticed that the Australians are wearing black armbands tonight in the Arrive Alive Test match. That is a tribute to the wife of former Test player Brad Mackay, who died yesterday of breast cancer. Let's go to Andrew on the sideline now. Andrew, good evening.
Good evening, Ray. This occasion is terrific. The weather is fine. You talk to supporters outside the ground. There's just a real good feel about the night. It's different to State of Origin. It's just a good positive feel about tonight's match. I know there's been a lot of press for Kieran Cunningham, but I reckon this man on screen is one. Well, he could be the X factor for Great Britain tonight. Paul Sculthorpe, the 5'8". He is a superstar with St Helens. He was man of the match in the first test last November against the Kangaroos. A key man tonight.
And the referee for this match is Russell Smith from Castleford. He controlled Australia versus New Zealand Test series in 93 and 98. This is his first Australia versus Great Britain Test match. And the kick-off. So the Test match is underway. That is O'Connor, who was on the end of that rally of punches from Tallis back in 1997 at ANZ Stadium. Now it's McDermott, 23 metres out from their own line for Sculthorpe, as we welcome viewers through Sky Sports in the UK. Always with us, but tonight very special interest. And now the first touch for this man we've heard so much about, Cunningham.
It's a fair run to start the game as well. He carried them 4 or 5 metres. As Sheridan now kicks back, Lockyer has to go centre field, gets a good bounce.
Darren Lockyer then, on the first of the kick returns, is pulled down by the number 3, that is Wellens. His right knee taped quite considerably. Here's Takiri beating the attempted tackle from Fielden, was taken by McDermott, and now Webke with his first charge of the night. 8 metres from the halfway line. Videris, the other number 9, he has a personal confrontation of some proportion tonight, doesn't he? Stephen Simpson on debut. His first touch. Videris goes left and finds Jason Riles, who made the Kangaroo Tour last year. 35 metres out from the Great Britain line for Johns to go to that right foot. It's too deep, and it'll come out to the 20-metre line for the restart. So it's been a fine day in Sydney. Hard-pressed to find a cloud, in fact, in the harbour or Olympic City for the last few days. 116th Test match. Australia have won 57. And a thumping tackle out there by Sean Timmins. reminding the Englishmen that we have got two very fine defensive centres on board for Australia tonight. This is Cunningham again.
And in those head-to-head statistics, the surprising one, of course, in Sydney, Great Britain have won more matches, 19 to Australia's 17, with one draw from the 37 played. Lockyer again, a good bounce, takes it on the run, goes to Senior, back inside to Tahu.
Tamana out to the 30-metre line. He's put down by Senior over the top of O'Connor, but it is lost in the tackle. Scrum will go down. Good position for Great Britain.
And Tahu looking in disbelief. He's saying raked out. It looks as though when getting up to play the ball, he just lost it cold. This is great field position for the Pommy side. They've looked good with the football in their hands. Just good, straight, hard running by their forwards so far.
Sheridan away from Sculthorpe. It's with Senior now. The bulk of these players coming from the class sides of England. Sheridan was hit hard, wasn't he? And he's fairly slow to rise. McDermott again. Cunningham again. Cunningham crabbing across the ground. The ball, I thought, might have gone forward, but it's with Weldon, or Wellens now, 20 metres out from the line. Farrell finding Redlinski. Cunningham. Sculthorpe to the 10. Fielden. Very close to the line. There it is. 3 metres in front of the play. That is Peacock. And then a little kick by Wellens, and Lockyer is able to clean it up in the face of Johnson coming down on top of him. So it's been an impressive start by the British side. Here's Takiri now. Webke. And a big clash of bodies there. Webke and McDermott. Ryle's cut out. Johns wide. Simpson even wider. And Simpson, his Newcastle teammate, will play the ball 25 metres out from the Australian line. Johns kicking on the 30-metre line. A good kick. Long run across there for Radlinski. The ball bouncing several times. Coming outside the 20-metre line now. Back there with him is Johnson, the winger. Sculthorpe, a dummy half. Johnson with the ball now.
And already you can see the involvement of the man that Andrew Voss pinpointed at dummy half there, Paul Sculthorpe. Might have number 6 on his back, but his first receiver, he's taken some runs up like a forward. He actually plays about 107 kilos. He's all over the park. Cunningham again down the short side.
A few metres into Australia's territory now. Great Britain. Sheridan with a long pass, finding Farrell, but Farrell was easy prey for the Australian defence. That of Barrett. McDermott with a one-hander. Sheridan punches it off that right foot. Lockyer covers back on his own 10. Has his Broncos teammate Lottie Takiri with him. And it'll be played back on the Australian 30-metre line. No score in the Test match, which is now 5.5 minutes old. Rifle ball out to Simpson from Johns. Now McKenna. McKenna reaching the halfway line near the touch line on the western side. Penalty. Holding down in the tackle, maybe a little hint of a forearm.
Yeah, I predict that one to be one of the big battles this evening in the centres. Chris McKenna up against Keith Senior. Both physical players, both looking for some physical domination on that occasion as Riles inside the 30. Good ball out to Badeiras.
Webke carries it on. Webke tackled in the centre of the 20-metre line. Play back for Badeiras. And now for Scott Hill. He turns it back on the inside for Gordon Tallis. Tallis is 9 metres out right in the centre of the park. Johns. Here's Barrett knocking on. So what was looking promising has broken down through the hands of a man that is normally as safe as a bank.
Yeah, they've been giving the ball plenty of air tonight, the Australians. They've gone wide on every occasion and made some good ground. On that occasion, a try loomed, but the ball went to ground. I must say they were impressed by the Great Britain defence so far. Players like Cunningham, O'Connor, McDermott, all doing their job up the middle.
Sheridan now. And Sculthorpe Now, he's called them back. He's got them for being inside the 5, I fancy, at the scrum. So it is a differential.
This is a different ball game for the Great Britain side tonight. There's a couple of different interpretations in the rules, which we may have to point out during the course of the game. But in the Super League, there's only a 6-man interchange used over the 80 minutes. 12 tonight. You would think that would help their cause, as Cunningham put a lot of pressure on Barry McDermott. A poor pass.
That was Badeiros. He really rattled McDermott. Watch this. Badeiros hits him with a shoulder charge, and this big man McDermott, who's been in and around the Great Britain side for a long time now. I remember he shortened Paul Sirenen up back in 1994.
Very unusual setup from the scrum. You can see 3 players on the short side. You would think that means Australia go left, but they've opened up space for the speed men.
Barrett away for Dragons teammate Timmins, who's taken down by Wellens. And they are inside the 40-metre line now, with Takiri taken by Sculthorpe and Wellens. He's been called on to defend a lot early, hasn't he, Wellens? Here's Webke, forcing some space up the middle. Now Johns, and then to Barrett. Barrett puts it onto a second-man play for Lockyer. Lockyer for McKenna. McKenna a few metres up in the line. Play back for Simpson. Then through to Barrett. Here is Johns. Now it is the lock forward, Scott Hill. Great Britain defending. O'Connor, one of them there. Sculthorpe, another. On the blind side, Johns puts a kick in. Redlinski, work to do. Kick too deep.
Yeah, once again, the Australians going wide. And some good cutout plays here. If this is any indication, if they continue this, they'll find some tries out wide. It wasn't very well read at all by Keith Senior. He came in, then had to drift back out.
Farrell, one of the 4 highest paid players in the Great Britain side. This is another of them. Sculthorpe, Redlinski the other, and Cunningham. They're all reported to be on something like 50,000 Australian dollars.
And driving play there in defence from Australia. Firstly, Andrew Johns on Farrell. Then it was Gordon Tallis's turn. Only a little bit tough to get out of their own end. This particular set of 6 is McDermott towards halfway.
He's lost the ball. McDermott losing the ball. Scrum will pack just on the Great Britain side of halfway. I was about to make the comment. Barry McDermott, who plays Test football, plays all football with a passion. It's as if he's the only forward out there at the moment. He can't resist it. He wants the ball. He wants work. A couple of mistakes in his game. But then again, in possession of the ball, he's got a high frequency rate. Just on the Great Britain side of halfway. Johns away for Barrett. Inside ball, Lockyer. He beats Fielden. McDermott did well for a big man. Badeiros is down but up again. Badeiros to the 20-metre line with McKenna now. And McKenna's able to offload. Barrett gets it away for Riles. And a good tackle by Fielden.
What a great tackle that was on Jason Riles.
Badeiros for Webke. Webke 15 out. Turning it back on second phase. Play, and Riles is knocked on. Great Britain has scrambled.
Yeah, good defence once again. I tell you who did so well from that scrum was the man Ray was just talking about, McDermott. But what's this for a hit and a half? Fielden got down low and drove hard, picked him up, put him on his derriere.
Last win for Great Britain in Sydney was here in 1988. Peter and Paul both played.
Yeah, good on you, Ray.
In that team. Great Britain 26, Australia 12. Senior.
Get off it, get off. Get the hands up.
This is O'Connor, the other front row forward. He just went straight over the top of Badeiros. I thought Badeiros might have been wounded, but he's bounced back into position quite quickly. Here's Sculthorpe, tackled right on the halfway line. Now Andy Farrell, Keith Senior. And that battle goes on out there between McKenna and Senior, but McKenna got stampeded. Tahu and Barrett made the tackle. Fielden getting it back. Farrell puts a kick in. He didn't have much room to work in, but that's a marvellous effort.
That's a very, very smart kick there. What's this for a run? They're willing, aren't they, the Pommy forwards? They're going well. The three fellas up front especially. Cunningham, McDermott, O'Connor.
And Paul, I've got to say I was very disappointed with some of the press of this test coming into the game. There's some journalists talking about easy beats and how Australia would dominate this. Now, look, I don't care what the scoreline will be, but there's never been an easy test match against a Great Britain side. Physically very tough. They've got quality players. I think it was very poor trying to build this game up as Barrett straight through.
Barrett's outside the 30-metre line. Takiri's coming up in support. Barrett might not need him. He goes out left and finds Lockyer. He kicks back to the middle, and it'll be a try, I think. No! They get it over the dead ball line. The first Great Britain player did not force the ball, and I thought Takiri would make it in time, but he didn't.
Well, how did they not score? It's a great bust by Barrett, and he's away, and he's got them for pace, I reckon. Then he drifts away, and they just keep coming to Great Britain outside backs. That's a great tackle there by Johnson, and look at that man getting back there in cover. He's the one that saved the try.
Eventually the halfback, Paul Johnson on the far wing, he was the reason that Trent Barrett had to pass the football. He was gobbling him up. The line dropout, so the pressure is maintained.
Johns sending Jason Riles back to them. Sheridan went bouncing off like a squash ball on the front wall. Webke. 25 metres out from the line. Vidiris, Simpson, the Newcastle back rower to play the ball back to Vidiris. A blindside shot, Riles. Vidiris, Johns. Johns on the 10-metre line. He kicks in behind. Johnson on the back foot did well. Then he gets forced back in goal. No score after 15 minutes as we take our first break. And a wonderful first 15 minutes it has been. Some attention for Terry O'Connor, the prop.
Make sure we get behind the line at these restarts, lads. Go back, Gene. Nothing after a quarter of an hour of Australia versus Great Britain, the 116th Test match. The restart from the line dropout, not good. McKenna tackled on the 30-metre line right in the centre of the ground. They cut out Webke and go to his junior deputy, Jason Riles. He plays at 20 metres out. Vidiris, a lovely long ball. Johns, Lockyer, Tallis. Tallis taken by Cunningham. 10 metres out from the line. Johns again. Here they come, Australia. Barrett has pulled out a couple of metres out. Johns throwing these long missiles. Great Britain in trouble. Hill, now McKenna, and good defence out wide by Senior, but it's a penalty. 2 men in the tackle. And stolen by the winger Carl Pratt.
And you would think Great Britain would have to open up this set of 6. Too much pressure. Australia really asking some questions of their defence.
Riles playing at 10 metres out from the line. Johns has got Webke with him, throws the dummy, and then takes a tremendous tackle by Radlinski. Then it's Vidiris, and now it's Barrett. Barrett is put down. Great defence by the Englishman. Play by Barrett. Vidiris back for Webke, and Webke is put away. Fielden and O'Connor the tacklers. Vidiris again, then Johns, now Hill, and it's been taken there by McKenna. He's over. First points of the Test match, scored by Cronulla's Chris McKenna. It really had to come, but there was some valiant defence from the touring party.
And how often do you see a try scored from a pass that is in some ways misdirected? They come wide. As we freeze it there, you can see that the Great Britain players have had to come in, and that leaves this man, Chris McKenna, in a lot of space on the outside. And as play continues, the pass doesn't find the immediate mark, but McKenna, the right footstep, too hard for Senior to make the tackle. And as I said, constant pressure leading to that try.
Yeah, Chris McKenna had actually swapped roles. He'd gone onto the wing and Tahu had gone into the centres. And when you've got that many ball players in your team, they've got Scott Hill, Andrew Johns, Trent Barrett. So much skill there. It wasn't the best of passes, but he got a good bounce, McKenna. With all that pressure, all that possession, they had to open up somewhere.
And just Chris McKenna's second test match. And what a thrill. In front of a home crowd getting the opening try in this one-off test. There you can see the assignment confronting Andrew Johns.
It might also be Chris McKenna's last test for Australia. He's having serious talks with Hull in the English Super League.
That's all, eh?
Johns from 20 metres out. He has got it. The try of Chris McKenna's has been converted. Australia 6, Great Britain no score at the 18th minute. Again, a welcome to our UK audience through Sky Sports, and of course to our audiences in New Zealand and in Papua New Guinea and wherever else you might be watching us. The test match almost 20 minutes old now. Andy Farrell restarts from the centre of the halfway mark. The Arrive Alive test match coming to you from Aussie Stadium, formerly the Sydney Football Stadium. Here is Lockyer. Interchanges. Great Britain have made one. The 12 is out there now, Chris Joynt. Here is Gordon Tallis breaking over the 40-metre line. Pulled down by Sculthorpe and Peacock. Now they're making yards. It was an intense first quarter hour. Here's Badeiras, now Tallis. And Tallis almost pulling free of the tackle from Sculthorpe. Badeiras starts a blindside raid. Timmins gets the ball back, and Scott Hill is so close. Russell Smith wants to go to the video to check whether in fact he has put the ball down on the line.
And a great little blindside play there, spotted by Badeiras, that the Englishman was short on that blind side. They took full advantage, a little scoot down there, and it remains to be seen whether Scott Hill has scored the try. Diving, the right arm extending. He's short there, but he makes another effort and bangs it down on the line.
You would think that this would be a try. He's a long way short. Does momentum take him forward? Yeah, that's a try.
It just looked on that other camera angle that he'd actually come down short and made a second movement. But looking at it on the side-on angle, it didn't quite touch the ground.
How much skill to actually not put the ball down before the line, to actually realise by keeping it up there'd be no chance of a double move. Look, it could have been on the ground there, but he keeps it off. That's incredible work from the Melbourne 5'8".
Yeah, great work by him. It wasn't an exciting work earlier by Badeiras from dummy half. Well, no one out there looks that confident.
Here's a try. Up on the Harvey Norman scoreboard, Scott Hill has scored a try against Great Britain in this test match at Aussie Stadium.
And there you can see the play that Paul was talking about. Just the winger there initially, and it was about 3 players coming at him. He backed off Johnson. Eventually the other troops arrived. Radlinski around the boots of Scott Hill. But Badeiras saw it. Great vision. Timmins did well. Inside ball to Scott Hill. And his momentum and skill getting the ball over the line.
Well, that's a shame for the Great Britain side. They held on very well the first 20 minutes. And it was 18 minutes before the first try was scored, and then the next set of 6 from the kickoff, Australia managed to score again. So let's hope the floodgates don't open. I don't think they will.
Australia's 58th Test captain, Andrew Johns, most experienced member of the home team. And the kick is coming through, lovely. Johns converts from touch. 12-0 Australia after 21 minutes.
He looks very happy with himself, Andrew Johnson. Don't forget tonight our Man of the Match competition, Nine and Nutrigrain, giving you a chance to pick up $2,000 in this competition. Simply use your mobile phone and send the SMS text message VOTE to that number you can see, 0429 675 767. Just follow the prompts, make your vote, and you could win $2,000. Thanks to Wide World of Sports. The winner will be announced on the Sunday Footy Show.
One change per team now. Jason Stevens has gone on for Australia. For the Phillips Kangaroos, I should have called them. Jason Riles back to the bench. Yes, the Phillips Company again to the fore with sponsorship. Radlinski. A struggle there for Gordon Tallis to hold his momentum. Johnson. Steve Menzies about to come into the game. He's got an appointment at the Mascot Airport at 6:30 in the morning to try and get to Townsville for a match tomorrow.
And I think that's a very attacking move from Chris Anderson to put in Steve Menzies at this stage of the game. He sees an opportunity out there to really rattle up some points, a bit of fatigue in the opposition. If anyone could take advantage, it is Beaver.
Here's Joint, Fielden passing but not moving. O'Connor ran into Johns, and Johns comes again with Barrett. And that's where they are, just inside the opponent's 40-metre line, Great Britain. Sculthorpe, he kicks, and it goes to Tamana Tahu's hands, back on the 10-metre line. He dances around Redlinski, runs into the hip there of Kieran Cunningham. And it's a penalty here, goes to Australia, is it?
Yeah, penalty for a rake in the tackle by Fielden. As Scott Simpson comes off, he had a good first 20 minutes, as did Jason Riles. I thought Jason Riles nearly the pick of the Australian forwards with his strong running.
Tap taken by Badeiras. Here's Stevens. 40-metre line. Menzies. Menzies in the traditional headgear. Here's Webke. Straining to get every available centimetre. Johns. Beautiful pass for Barrett. Barrett with a one-handed pass. It doesn't find the mark of Tamana Tahu. But they are forming a great combination, Johns and Barrett.
You'll be disappointed in that, though, Trent Barrett. They don't want to fall into the trap of starting to play touch football. They're opening up a bit, the Plummies.
Let's go to the sideline for a comment from Andrew Voss now. Andrew?
Adding to what Paul is saying, the Great Britain side really doing it tough. Their last set of six with the ball in their hands, they made only 20-25 metres. Everything has changed. They were so deflated at conceding that second try, which came in the set of six following the first try. They really need something just to go their way here. Maybe a penalty from Russell Smith would help, just to get them out of trouble, just to get a little bit of possession going their way.
Here's Wellens. Sculthorpe. Mason still to come into the game. That won't be too far distant. Gee, I wonder what their first reaction will be when they confront Big Willie. 6 metres on their own side of halfway. Ball played by Peacock. Now Sculthorpe keeps it low, drives it towards Tahu inside his own 20-metre line. Little in and away, and then a swerve backwards to beat Sculthorpe. Comes back at them again, and Fielden is there with Joint. Now to Keary. Comes in looking for work. Badeiras for Menzies. Menzies over halfway, right in the centre of the ground. Badeiras there. Dummies to Johns. Goes inside the 40-metre line, Danny Badeiras. He's just outside the 30 now.
Yeah, just watch the work of Badeiras out of dummy half. It takes a few steps, commits the markers, then picks the runner.
Johns is into the clear. Has one to beat. Gets the ball away, and Darren Lockyer completes the bust. Lockyer scores. after Johns had busted them wide open on the back of the work done by Danny Medeiros.
Yes, much too easy there. Andrew Johns just taking the line on himself, and he had plenty of defenders in front of him. Just straight in between a couple of would-be's. Came to Radlinski. 3 support players there in Menzies, Barrett, and the try scorer, Darren Lockyer.
On with the signs now for the Great Britain team. Joey, the big fellas fall for the dummy. They just hold off for a second. They've done a lot of work, and Joey knows that. He took them on, the Great Britain Pops, and got through, and the ever-present Darren Lockyer backing up back on the inside.
So Lockyer puts the 3rd try over the line. And it is converted by Johns. It is 18 points to nothing. The Phillips Kangaroos over Great Britain as we go to a break at the 26th minute. Slowly back to halfway. So bring you back if you've been to a break.
Here's Mason on the field with his first run.
27 metres out from his own line. Timmins carries it on from dummy half.
And you talk about crowd-pleasing players. Did you hear the roar when Willie Mason got his first touch? They went up as one.
Stevens to the halfway line. This crowd isn't so bad either. Compared with the one that was here at 7:30, it is
Swollen. Here's Medeiros. Cut down. Ball went backwards. Advantage Great Britain.
A lot of these fans have come in after kick-off, I fancy. Here's Cunningham now. 17 missed tackles up against Great Britain. Johnson, 40-metre line.
And they need more of that at this end of the field. Their outside backs and fullback to come into the dummy half area and scoot. Got to take some pressure off the forwards. Get some speed men out.
Fielden played it. Sheridan gives it. Farrell's with it.
Senior. Big clash of bodies with Tahu.
Australian into the ground. Away from Pratt to Farrell. Farrell's kick is high.
Takiri's underneath it. Takiri could have put the pedal down and run 70 metres.
Just one defender was there waiting for him. Barrett.
Now McKenna scored a try. Tahu gets it back inside for McKenna. Now goes back across from Barrett for Johns. Johns then away to Medeiros, a juggle. Now it's with Timmins. Back it comes to Lockyer. They go inside the 40-metre line. Menzies is tackled with the ball. Tackled by Pratt. Lockyer for Stevens now. Then for Johns. Cut out ball over the top. Hill gets it away. Timmins comes inside off his left foot.
25 metres out from the line. Playing it back for Scott Hill. Tallis is with him.
Tallis channels back in behind to play the ball. He's inside the 10-metre line.
4th try is imminent.
Johns for Mason. Oh, they won't stop him. You can't stop Willie Mason from that close to the line. You might tackle him, but he falls another 5 metres. He's like a big piece of tall timber. And the Canterbury Bulldog gets a try on debut.
A fantastic take there from Lottie Takiri. And what a tackle here from Jamie Peacock. If he beats the second rower there, he does run 80 metres. And you won't stop Willie Mason with this amount of space. Johns goes wide. We freeze it there. Have a look at the far side defence, not coming across at all. And the hole. Well, he doesn't need a big one. He just makes them himself. But this time, breezes through. And then with an air of almost nonchalance, puts the ball down.
And that's typical of what Willie Mason's been doing for the Canterbury side all year, just drifting back on the inside of ball players, looking for holes and just striding over. Very easy try for him. And a great start to his international career.
And Andrew Johns continues A marvellous test match. 24-0 after half an hour. 4 from 4 for Johns. Andrew.
And Ray, that try highlights the contrast you've got of the two benches of these sides. The Great Britain bench tonight, they just don't have the size there to try and maintain the physical presence, momentum they'd built up in the first 15 minutes. On the other hand, the Australians, they bring on Stevens first, then Menzies, then Mason. Great Britain to start the match really only had one forward of any size on their bench, and that was Chris Joynt. Outside of that, Gleeson's a centre. Newton plays hooker, and Sinfield, well, he's come on at halfback.
Mason has gone right through them. Tremendous run by Willie Mason. Here is Timmins now. 10 metres into Great Britain's territory. On the second tackle. This is the third.
I've got to say I'm very surprised that Great Britain have only made 3 interchanges to this stage. I think maybe they had to get a few fresher troops out there earlier than this. Maybe even use a few more up in the first half than David Waite would have liked.
Stevens is underneath that maul of defence. 3 in the tackle. Badeiras crosses the 20-metre line. Taken down by Sculthorpe. 5th tackle is with us. Tallis to the right. Johns kicks. He's looking for Tahu. Tahu had the ball and lost it. What about Mason? A try and this run to restart.
What an awesome sight if you're a Great Britain defender. And he took on the winger and beat him, and then straight away from the outside backs. That's where I think the Great Britain side lacks plenty tonight, is out wide. When they've got the football, their forwards are hitting it up pretty well, but they've got no pace and no guile out wide.
Sculthorpe just laying it back on the inside there for the 17. Sinfield is on for Great Britain as Cunningham gets it away to Wellens, but they're going across the ground. 30-metre line is underneath them now. This is Sinfield, and getting it away for Sculthorpe again, flicking it back for Cunningham. And I know the scoreboard is 24-0, and Danny Badeiras is playing with a team that is really on fire, but he would personally feel quite happy, I would imagine. Danny Badeiras, his clash with Cunningham was much publicised. Here's Lockyer showing the evasiveness that we've come to know of Darren Lockyer. This is Tamana Tahu. And some running repairs there for Radlinski, isn't it?
Yeah, he's a player they don't want to lose. Paul Wellens has dropped back into the fullback role, but Radlinski, in a tough night, has been pretty good defensively, as Tallis having a ball on the left side of the field tonight.
Scott Hill working it back, and Badeiras tries to push the ball the way it was going originally before Timmins picked it up, corrected it. 6 more tackles, is it? Thank you. Mason in the middle, gets rid of Fielden, takes on another couple. They eventually put him away, and the crowd again delighted with what Mason is doing. Here's Stevens now, taken by Joynt, and there's the uprights. Johns, they've stacked the blind side. Timmins, and Scott Hill gets his 2nd try of the night. The Melburnian Scott Hill gets another Australian try.
And they are absolutely killing them down the short side of the ruck, getting numbers. That time it was about 4 on 3. We freeze it there. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 attacking players up against 3 defenders. And as play continues, it's just simple mathematics. Find the right man into the space. Ball back on the inside was an absolute beauty to Scott Hill. And he, as Ray points out, gets his 2nd for the night.
Once again, it's the ball skills of a player like Andrew Johns. There's plenty of them out there on show for Australia tonight, but all the players have got to do out wide is run to the holes. And the ball ends up on their chest, and away they go. And we were hopeful it wasn't going to be a blowout. This could be 1,000 points tonight. The Pommies gave it their best for the first 20 minutes. They seemed to run out of puff.
Johns with 4 from 4, upwards of 160 career test points. 11 metres in from touch, 20 metres out. Easton grandstand behind him. And Andrew trying to keep it 100 out of 100 has missed. 28-0 is the score. A shot of the Australian coach box. Chris Anderson in the foreground. Andrew Voss sideline.
And a real night of triumph developing for Scott Hill, the man on screen, playing in his favourite position, which is with a 13 on his back. You've got to think of some of the setbacks he's had in his career. Way back to the 99 grand final, he missed through injury. He makes the test side in 2000, plays in a winning Origin series, and things at the representative scale since then haven't been all that flash, although he did play for New South Wales this year. But tonight he's recognised again as one of the real elite in our game.
Lockyer playing it inside 30-metre line. And Scott Hill is underneath that tackle. Somebody took to him with an iron bar one night, didn't they? Look at Mason. Ripping them apart. Vidiris. Tallis wants it. Barrett got in between them, and Barrett will play the ball. Gordon is pumped right up. He's looking for work. He just can't get the ball in his hands as much as you'd like. The kick by Johns, the chase by Lockyer, the clean up by Johnson. In front of that southern end of the ground. Australia comes back to regroup.
And Andrew Johns will be much happy with this kick. The only chink in his armour tonight was a couple of fairly ordinary ones by his standards early in the game. But that one put a lot of pressure on him.
Johns barking instructions, barking the next play from the line drop out.
Let's get him low.
Stevens, somewhat of a surprise selection. In many quarters, he was regarded as such. Sivanasiva and Carlaw making way for Mason and Stevens. Not pleasing to the Queensland people, understandably. Menzies, Vidiris, he's doing the dance with Cunningham. Cunningham's got him now, joints over the top. And look at them. Again, they're 11 metres out, right in the centre of the park. Johns for Barrett. Dummied one way, gave it to Tallis. Tallis is over. Well, I said he was looking for work. He wanted the football. And the combination of Johns and Barrett from the line drop out. They set it up. They took it to where they wanted to be. And then, bang, right on Tallis's chest.
Yeah, they didn't come up the Great Britain side. They go to the left, go to the line. We freeze it there. You can see that the angled run, it surprises the Great Britain defence because these defenders on the outside are looking more to that man. And as play continues, it's just a great line running there. As it turned out, Sculthorpe didn't even see Gordon Tallis coming. But off your line, you've got to rush up and put some pressure on. You can't sit back and wait or you will get slaughtered.
Yeah, it's all too easy now for the Aussies. And you can see the Great Britain players in the background throwing up their arms, pointing at each other. Peacock and Sculthorpe didn't know what was going on out there. And the players, once again, just running into the holes. It wasn't Johns that time, it was Barrett who provided the beautiful ball.
So Gordon Tallis, it's been a mixed week for him, missing the captaincy. Johns converts. The Gordon Tallis try has been converted by Captain Andrew Johns. 34-0. Andrew.
Well, I've got to say, while Andrew Johns was lining up the kick, I had a close look at the Great Britain huddle behind the goal, looking for signs of life, and I've got to say, I don't want to get too dramatic about it, but I don't think there's much there. Andy Farrell had just a little bit to say, but there's no great talk about other players revving up. It's as if, well, I don't like to say it, but as if they've conceded. There just doesn't seem to be much spirit there right at the moment, which will be terribly disappointing for those watching back at home in the north of England.
Sculthorpe starts us again. Tallis is picked up by Peacock and put down. 25 metres out from the Australian line. Mason, here we go again. Not a lot of players in a career, and this fellow's really only in the embryo of his career, have been able to get a crowd to rise every time they touch the ball. I'm not going to try and name them, but it's a special quality. When you get the football, the crowd collectively just rise, and Mason already has got that quality about him. Mason's with it now. Now Hill trying to isolate a player over on the other side of the ground, Timmins. And there it is, half-time.